In this mini lesson, we're going to talk about comparing and ordering rational numbers. And remember, a rational number is any number that is a whole number, a decimal, a positive, or a negative number, which we haven't talked about positive and negatives yet, but that's what a rational number is. So it's anything that can be written as a decimal or a fraction. So we're going to compare them by using our less than or greater than symbols. And remember that I taught you that if you get stuck on which is the less than symbol, remember we are not eating larger numbers anymore. The less than symbol is made with your left hand. So if you put your left hand up, that is the less than symbol. So that's just an easy way to remember less than is your left hand, L and L. So when I compare and order rational numbers, what I usually like to do is I can place them on a number line, or if I'm not sure as where to put them on the number line, you can change both of them to an equivalent form. So I could change this to 6/10, so 6/10. And then I would have to make equivalent denominators and make equivalent fractions so I can compare my numerators. In my mind, that's a little bit more difficult than taking 7/11 and just changing that into a decimal. I think decimals are easier to compare than fractions. I think they're less work, but again, it's your choice. So very quickly, if I wanted to change 6/10 and 7/11 and compare, these are very close fractions. So I would have to change both of these to 110. So if I go over here and make them both 110, 10 goes in 110 11 times, so that's 66. 11 goes in 110 10 times, so that would be 70. And then I can compare those two fractions. So some of you that are very good at changing your fractions to equivalent forms to compare, go ahead and do it that way. That is completely up to you. That there is not a wrong way to do it. Again, I prefer changing my fractions to decimals. So that is what I'm going to do in this example. So again, I'm going to take 7 and divide it by 11. And I know that 11 does not go into 7. So I have to add a decimal point and annex a 0. And I know it goes in 6 times. And I'm left over with 4. So right now, if I'm comparing, I have 6/10 and 6/10. So I have to figure out which one's bigger at this point. Well, considering I have to keep going on for this problem, I know that my 7/11 is going to be larger because when I go ahead and annex a 0, 11 goes into 43 times. And then I'm left over with 7 again. And then I'm going to have to keep repeating. So if you look, I have a 7 here and a 7 here. So it's going to go 6/3, 6/3, 6/3. Well, 63 hundredths is larger than 60 hundredths. So I know that 7/11 is greater than 60 tenths, or 60 hundredths, sorry, or 6/10. So when I read this left to right, I say 6/10 or 60 hundredths is less than 7/11. So again, you can do that changing both of them to fractions, or you are welcome to change the fraction into a decimal in order to compare. All right, moving on to my next one. Okay, let me go ahead and erase some of my work right there so it's not in the way. All right, so I want to order these from least to greatest. Again, I can place these on a number line if I feel that I can do that, or I can change my fractions into decimals. I know that 1.5 is 1.5 or 1 5/10. Okay, so I don't need to do any long division for that. 7/8 we did in a previous example, but I will do that one very quickly for you. So 8 does not go into 7. It goes into 78 times. It goes into 67 times. And then it goes into 45 times, and then I'm done. So this is going to be 875 thousandths. All right, so now I can place all of these on the number line if I choose to do so, and that can help me as well. Or I can place them all in order by decimal form. So it's up to you on which way you want to do that. So when I place these on there, I'm going to put them in their original forms. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put 1.5 as 1.5, and I'm going to put 7/8 as 7/8. All right, so 1 1/2 goes right here. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that right there. So that is where 1 1/2 would go. 83 hundredths. I know if this is 3/4 or 75 hundredths right here, 83 hundredths would be approximately right there. Okay. 7/8 is 875 thousandths. Well, 87 is larger than 83, so that would go right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a little arrow. So I'm going to put 7/8 in its form that I had in the beginning. And then 1 6/10. I know that 1 5/10 is less than 1 6/10 because 5 is lower than 6. So 1 6/10 is approximately right there. So now I have them ordered from least to greatest, or if the question was asking me to do greatest to least, then they're already in order as well. I just have to write them backwards. So if I wanted to put them in order from lowest to greatest, I would have 83 hundredths, 7/8, 1.5, and 1 6/10. And there they would be ordered from least to greatest. And that is how we compare and order rational numbers.